Attractiveness is already important to attract new partners, but more and more to sell it. Let's see how it works. So the context changed dramatically in the last, let's say, 5 to 10 years. The trend is toward corporatization. Corporatization is a process in which veterinary practices are more and more owned by corporates. It all started in the United States 25 years ago. Then the process continued in the UK 20 years ago, exactly 20 years ago, it was in 1919. And 1999, sorry. And then the process started in Asia and in mainland Europe about the same time at the beginning of this decade. So it's relatively recent. So what is this context? Formerly, we had sole practitioners. We have still some, but less and less. Okay? Depending on the market, you may have more, but generally speaking, there are less and less. Then you have single vet owners, only one owner, several vets, but actually a practice with a whole team. It's still a very important business model. You have also partnerships. Instead of having only one owner, you have several. They are also called partners. Okay? And then vet groups. In vet groups, all the shareholders are still vets. They have 100% of the groups, but they have more than one practice. They may have several in the same places, what we call a local clusters, or maybe they may have several clusters, let's say 3 practices in this place, 4 in the other place, a little bit more. These are vet groups. And then came corporates. Regional corporates or national corporates. Of course, regional corporate in the United States may look like a national corporate in one European country, as you can imagine. Okay? So the difference between vet groups and corporates is the composition of the capital. Among shareholders in a corporate, you have non-vet. You have investors. Different kind of investors. And nowadays, we have international corporates. So if we look at these corporates, for instance, right now in the United States, there are about 25 groups or corporates that can acquire your practice. In Europe, we already have at least 5 international corporates that are ready to acquire your practice in many countries, more than 8 countries, 9 countries, 10 countries, for some international groups. And we can expect that it will come almost everywhere. It opens the scope of possibilities for you when it comes to transmissions. Formerly, basically, you were here and you had a choice in between selling your practice to a new owner, another vet, taking the practice from you, okay, or getting in a new partner, either to replace a departing partner or to add a new partner. You had 3 partners, and then you will be 4 partners. Nowadays, you may have also other modalities, such as selling your practice to a corporate or welcoming investors within your practice. So it's a much broader scope than formerly. So just to summarize, formerly you had these 2 options, and nowadays you still have these 2 options. And in addition, not in the place of. In addition, you may have these 2 ones. So you are very lucky, because in fact, you are able to transmit your practice in much more modalities. And as you know, if you have several options, generally speaking, it's much better. If you try to sell your house and you have only one people that is ready to buy it, the situation is less comfortable than if you have 3 options. 3 people that would like to buy your house. That's obvious. Okay? I think I step a little bit too much on the red carpet, sorry. Okay, I will try to avoid that. So, the question is attractiveness. What are the main attractiveness criteria for buyers? Either I would like to sell to other vets. In this case, of course, they will consider, first of all, human and professional context. Because it's a small community. Maybe you are 2 partners, 3 partners, maybe 15 partners, but it's really uncommon to have 150 partners. So it's a small community, and it's very important to see if every people fits to each other. So it's human context and professional context. Do we have the same values? Do we have the same mission? Do we share all that? It's important to check that. And of course, there is a mid to long-term value. Generally speaking, when you sell to another vet or when you attract a new partner, they are very concerned with the value, but the value in the future. They are not looking at next month or next year. Of course, they will look at that, but they will look at within 5 years, within 10 years. That's when you sell to other vets. If you sell to corporates, value is very important, and in this time, it's short to long-term value as well. So not only mid to long-term, but short to long-term, because, okay, they want to know what they buy now, and if they will have to invest a lot to develop your practice, or if this investment could be relative quite quickly. That means getting some cash to the corporate very quickly. And then they will look also at the complementarities or overlaps. Just to make it very simple, if your practice is located in city A and you have 2 corporates, one owns already 3 practices in city A, and the other one don't own any practice in this city, what could be the outcome on the attractiveness? In fact, it depends. Maybe because the first one could say, okay, I already have 3. With this 4th one, it would be very good, very easy to share people, maybe to have only one practice with a 24/7 service, and with that, it's a good complementarity. Or maybe say, oh, I already have 3. I have this 4th in addition, it's rather an overlap. Okay? On the other hand, the other one is not there. I say, okay, city A is very important for me. I must be there. So I'm very keen to buy it. Or city A is interesting, but it's a little bit remote from my other practice. And it's not my priority in the short term. Maybe I will consider that, but in 2 years of time or 3 years of time, not now. So in fact, it's a little bit tricky to analyze, but obviously, it's something that needs to be considered. And then, if investors are interested in your practice, so generally speaking, they are interested in very big practices at the beginning of the process. It's totally different. First of all, most of investors have a short to mid-term, generally speaking, between 3 to 7 years. Investment timing. They're not concerned about what will occur in 20 years. Okay, they want to know how to maximize the value quite quickly. Okay, and moreover, that is what is really funny with investor. When it comes to they would like to enter into your corporate, the key issue for them is how they will exit. Is it easy to exit? Either by selling again to someone else your practice, or because you will buy it back from them. Sometimes it may exist. Sometimes another possibility is to have a so-called an IPO, initial public offer, going to the stock exchange, but it's not that common for veterinary practices. So in fact, investors are very interested in buying, but also how to exit there. And for instance, in the United States right now, there are maybe around 10 investors that are trying to buy hospitals, mainly hospitals, to revamp them and then to sell them back. Okay? So depending on who you address, the situation is different. So the question now is, how much will you sell? The value, the question of the value. Basically, the value is based on the profit you make, and generally speaking, worldwide, the metric we use for the profit is called EBITDA. EBITDA stands for earning before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Okay? So it's a metric of profitability. And you will sell X time the EBITDA. 6 times, 7 times, 12 times, 18 times. So that will be the value. So the two key issues are, first of all, EBITDA, and then this factor, this so-called multiplier. Okay? As far as EBITDA is concerned, we will, in the second part of my lecture, focus on it is profitability. How to improve profitability. So the value of the sustainable value of your practice is mainly relying on profitability. But not only. Not only. Why? Because the multiplier will play a great role into this number. So the multiplier will depend on growth potential. That's very important. When someone buys your practice, someone doesn't buy your past, they buy the future. So they will look at, okay, this practice is doing well, but is it possible that this practice is doing even better in the future? That's growth potential. And when we sell growth, it's not growth in revenues, it's growth in EBITDA. Is it possible to improve the profit? So profitability is always important. Location. Location is, are you in the right city? Are you in the right place of the city? Premises. Team. Team is very important. Because, okay, it's possible to change the premises, it's possible to change the location, it's possible to change the team. You can change everything, but it will cost you money, it will take time. And for all the people you saw, it's, of course, they can consider it, but it's an issue. Equipment. Equipment. Do you have the right level of equipment? The right level is to know if you have the good equipment and if you use it, or if you have a collection of toys, just as Mark explained you. And we will come back to this idea of having toys or having tools. But also, this multiplier will depend on very irrational factors, such as competition between buyers. And once again, if you have several potential buyers, you will get more than if you have only one. So if you consider to sell, you should address several potential buyers in order to get the best price for your company. That's obvious, but many vets forget that. Once they meet with the corporate, they look fun guys, nice guys, they discuss, they fit well, okay, we will sell. Hey, you forget something. You forgot something. So now, competition between buyers is important. If you want to sell, you should at least have 2 options. So now, let's understand how to improve EBITDA on a sustainable way. In the mind of many vets, to improve EBITDA, it's really easy. In fact, if you want to make profit, you need to produce poor medicine. It's really untrue. Untrue. There is no antagonism between good medicine and good profit. In fact, if you produce good medicine, you will have healthy pets, happy owners, you will enlarge your client base, you will make some profit, and with this profit, you will be able to have skilled staff, good premises, high level of equipment, and to produce good medicine. The bad news is that good medicine is expensive. To pay for it, you need profit. If you are not profitable, you will leave as a vet, for sure. But probably you will have difficulties to grow and to develop, to address new clients, but also new technologies, to expand the skill of your team, and so on. And then you are at risk of losing on every ground. So there is no antagonism. If we look at profit, I don't want to turn you into accountants, but just some ideas how to improve the profit from a profit and loss account. So you have revenues. Revenues minus purchase, you get something that is important, gross margin. Gross margin, then you have to pay for overhead. So the payroll, the team is, of course, very costly. And overhead, premises, supplies, marketing, external professional services, others. And then you get EBITDA. So it's easy. How to increase EBITDA? How to increase EBITDA?
Reduce cost.
Sorry? Reduce cost. Reduce cost. The first way to increase EBITDA is to increase revenues. And then, of course, maybe you can decrease cost. Or at least to do both, or to optimize the cost. But be careful with that, especially on growing markets. And veterinary medicine worldwide is growing, either steadily or fastly, or it's booming. Okay? So on these markets, the main issue is growing revenues. For instance, we can say, okay, maybe we have too many people. No. Generally speaking, most of vets wait too long before hiring new people. Then we will see which kind of people and how to do that. But the first answer is not about cost reduction, is about growing revenues. And then, of course, cost optimization will be interesting. Okay? In fact, the only costs we can try to cut without any difficulties is purchases. But payroll costs or even overhead, of course, if you have some waste, you have to solve it. But generally speaking, you don't have waste. I visit veterinary practices all over the world. I don't see many people in veterinary practices waiting for doing something. I see many, many people running in every direction, overloaded with work. Moreover, sometimes it's a kind of a value. You know, vets at the end of the day, wow, it was a great day. Today, one vet in our practice saw 25 clients. Probably you lost a lot of money today. Because lack of time destroy your revenues. Okay? So we have to look at that sustainable value. Sustainable value. Okay, so improving profitability is first of all increasing revenues and gross margin. Okay? Increasing what we call the top line. And then, of course, it's a question of improving efficiency for a certain top line to increase the bottom line, the EBITDA. EBITDA is the bottom line, revenue and gross margin are the top line. So we must act on both, as you mentioned. Okay? So, first of all, increasing revenues and gross margin. How to do that? If we look at how you get your clients and how you get your services, when you sell services, basically, vets is selling professional services. In fact, you have 4 sources of services that was demonstrated 15 years ago by John Sheridan in the UK. And John was already a pioneer then. I think John is almost 80 now, but he's still a very, very accurate guy. And we work closely together. It's really interesting. And new clients, 6%. Very few. I don't say it's not important. Yes, we have to attract new clients thanks to social media and so on. But new clients, it's 6% of the service you sell. Okay? Existing clients, spontaneous demand. Okay, you receive a phone call. Hi, Mr. Baralon, my dog is not well, I would like an appointment. It's important for that. But it's 38%. Then, demand stimulated by marketing, reminders, or simply information, by website, social media, 24%. And, moreover, demand stimulated by staff. And when I say staff, first of all, you and your team, of course, 32%. So starting from that, the question is, what are your priorities? The priorities is, first of all, this one. How to act, how to foster, or to optimize the demand stimulated by staff, thanks to education, thanks to protocols. Exactly what Mark explained you in the previous lecture. To focus on preventative medicine. Preventative medicine, it's not a spontaneous demand from clients. They are very receptive, but you have to offer. If you are not able to offer dental cleaning, people won't require dental cleaning spontaneously. But then it's too late. It's not anymore dental cleaning. It's dental surgery, emergency surgery, war surgery sometimes. So it's very different. Then the second is demand stimulated by marketing. And then, of course, new clients. On this 38%, it's very difficult to act, as you can imagine. So 1, 2, 3. And moreover, if we are able to achieve or to perform well on 1 and 2, then 3 will really help. Because in fact, satisfied clients bring to you new clients. That's thanks to word of mouth, directly or on social media. Okay, so increasing revenues and gross margin. 2 short tips, because it's impossible to cover everything. The first tip is clear recommendations. The recommendation process is really difficult. You must be clear and clear-cut. And many vets are shy to be clear when they recommend something. So I just want to show you an example. This example comes from Canada. It's a huge research done by Cindy Adams. Cindy Adams is a teacher in Alberta, Vet University. And she studied many interactions between vets and pet owners with a system of camera and so on. She had a library of a huge number of video about that, and she's really good at that. So it was, about dentistry recommendation. So dentistry, out of 83 cases, 52 cases with a clear recommendation and 31 with ambiguous recommendation. What is a clear recommendation or what is an ambiguous recommendation? A typical clear recommendation is this. Given the heart tartar and plaque buildup, I recommend we do a dental cleaning, the sooner the better. Your dog is suffering pain and discomfort, and the condition will not improve by itself. So it's clear, there is a timeline, the sooner the better, and there is a benefit. Your dog is suffering pain and discomfort, so we have to act. Okay? What is an ambiguous recommendation is this one. Looking at her teeth, it wouldn't hurt to consider a dental in the near future. You may want to think about it, to discuss it at home. Let us know if you make a decision. So you have no timeline. It's an idea. It wouldn't hurt. Okay? So this vet, honestly, at the end of the consultation, is 100% certain to have made a clear recommendation. But it's not a clear recommendation. If we look at the difference of outcome, look at that. 52, 25 following recommendation. It's almost half of them. 31, 3 following recommendation, 10%. It's every day you can see that, and among good vets, committed vets, but shy vets, they don't want to engage and to say, yes, I recommend you this. It's true for services. it's true also for product. I recommend you this nutrition, or this flea and tick, or these warmers. Very clear cut. In some countries, for instance, in some countries, the tradition is to never have a clear-cut recommendation when it comes to a product, but to give a short list. You may choose this one, or this one, or this one. And then the client has to make the decision by him or herself. It's a pity, because in fact you turn the client into the vet. The vet should know which is the best product, at least to give one option. It's not an informed consent to have a several choice and to say you have A or B. Maybe you could take the A because it's a pink bag. It would be better with your kitchen. Oh, no. Okay? So please, clear recommendation. That's the first idea. Second idea, sound pricing policy. Pricing policy is very important for revenue. And in this respect, the basic balance when it comes to price services for products is totally different. We addressed the issue this morning with Perret. Maybe you heard us. But for services, the basic balance is between perceived values and the price. In this case, the pet owner will consider that it's too expensive. And we say, oh, it's too expensive. Or maybe he won't say that, but he won't buy. So many vets say, okay, it's too expensive, I have to reduce the price. But there is another option. What is the other option? Is to increase the perceived value. And to increase the perceived value, you have, for instance, to explain what is this service you are going to sell. Prevention. Prevention, if you sell vaccination, sometimes when I look to the price list of many vet practices, I can see vaccination. Vaccination, in the mind of someone, a vaccination is to put this vaccine into this cat. It's a vaccination shot. But you don't produce that. What do you produce? You produce a comprehensive physical exam. You produce targeted pieces of advice on dental, on nutrition, on parasitism, on oral hygiene, all that. Plus a vaccination. But if the name is a vaccination, you reduce the value. Okay? If the name is, for instance, annual health exam or annual health check, it may be different. It's not only the question of the name, it's the name and the content and the price, all together. We are very good at what we call engineer marketing. Engineer marketing, it's marketing designed by scientific people. You know those people that try to sell you a sushi by explaining that it's a bowl of sticky rice topped with a piece of dead fish. From a technical point of view, it's true, but it's not that sexy, okay? So try to do better. So, a fair price, extensive charging, good price list. Some tips. The fair price profile, it's simple. Clear and comfortable. You are comfortable with your price. It's clear. We understand what are the services, and it's clear cut and explainable. I can explain the price of my services. If it's a sophisticated services, okay, it's not a question of price list. What is the basic tool to explain the price of sophisticated surgery, for instance? An estimate. I will have a detailed estimate, and I will comment the estimate to the client. By doing that, I will show the value. I will show the value, and at the end of the comment, say, okay, yes, it's 654 euros. It's some money, but I understand why. Okay? And a key tip is to charge every performed procedure, even the smallest one. Blood sampling, urine sampling. Or sampling, not testing. Testing is another line of the bill, using the professional software, for instance. A good price list is extensive, all procedures are listed, but simple. One procedure, one price. And moreover, actually implemented. You lose a lot of money by what we call the missed charges, because you don't charge or you charge less than you should. Sometimes this discount are even unknown by your clients. Simply the vet, look at the bill, wow, there is this, and this. Okay, let's forget the blood sampling. Without telling to the client. In this case, it's simply a way to gain some comfort for the vet, because the owner doesn't know that he didn't have to pay for something. So if you want to make a gift to a client, you have to show on the bill that, okay, blood sampling, this amount, rebate, this amount. That's the main difference between professional life and personal life. In professional life, if you make a gift, you must leave the label with the price on the gift. In personal life, I don't advise to do like that. It's a little bit rude. So now improving profitability is also improving productivity, efficiency. Twofold: staff and equipment, toys. We will finish by toys. Yeah. Productivity of staff. First of all, staff, vets. Vets, it's nowadays really important to focus on productivity of vets for two reasons. The first one is that vets are the most expensive people you pay, generally speaking. And the second reason is that it's not that easy to hire new vets. So you must use very well the vets you have. And nowadays, in many countries and business models, the key issue is how to do more with the same number of vets. Or maybe how to double with increasing the number of vets by 50%. That's really, really important. So productivity of vet, okay, you have, of course, the know-how. Know-how means good education, but then continuous training. But you have also organization. Organization is key to improve the productivity of vets. Appointments, but in surgery, for instance, if you make some surgery every day, the productivity is very low. If you're able to concentrate surgery on intense slots with a dedicated team, the productivity is really, really high. And the third point is the team. Vets don't work alone. They work with a team. And they don't work alongside the team. They interact. They are articulated with a team. So this team, the traditional team structure is that we have many vets and some polyvalent support staff. The first evolution is to change the ratio. And, okay, to have vets and polyvalent support staff. Then, if you look at the most advanced markets, let's say in North America, UK, Scandinavia, you have vets plus receptionists, nurses, administrative staff. So you may have, in some markets, for one full-time equivalent vet, 0.5 equivalent support staff, up to 6 full-time equivalent support staff. Roughly, worldwide, that's the scope. Of course, difficult to compare hospitals with first opinion vet practices. Nevertheless, within the first opinion vet practices, it's in between almost 0 up to 3 to 4 full-time equivalent for vets. The question is not only to add people around vet, it's to know what they will do. So how to do that? Working together and not alongside vet and nurses. So vets concentrated on high-level technical skills such as diagnosis, surgery, image interpretation, and so on. And nurses helping on routine tasks, but sometimes high-level routine tasks such as treatment administration, image production. Okay? Why the hell would you need a vet to take an X-ray? You need a vet to read an X-ray, not to take it. Be careful, in some cases, you need educated staff to take it. But if you have educated staff, look at in human medicine. In human medicine, it's only technicians that produce the image. Be careful with regulation. In some countries, we may face difficulties with regulation, but nevertheless, everywhere the trend is toward much more delegation. Another example with vets and receptionists, double-level communication. Receptionists, vets, receptionists. The receptionists take in charge of first contact. with the pet owner, then the vets. And be careful sometimes, vets delegate too much the contact with pet owners. Sometimes it's necessary to have, for instance, for some recommendation, we need a vet, because the vet is much more legitimate. So you initiate the recommendation. But then, so consistency in communication, same messages, same protocol, and product sales, the vet will recommend, but receptionists will close the sales, or nurses will close the sales. Generally speaking, of course with great exceptions, but generally speaking, vets are not that good at closing the deal. So it's interesting to rely on your support staff. Let's have one word about toys, productivity of equipment. Any equipment, the cost structure is the same. You have some fixed cost, that is this line, some total cost, that is the sum between fixed cost and the variable cost, and you have some revenue. And what we want is to exceed the break-even point. The break-even point is this one. It's where the revenues pays for the total cost, including your time, including the workforce, okay? So if you look at that, that means that once you bought a toy, you need to use it. It's very important, and not to say, okay, it was my favorite toy, but now I think I will need another one, okay? So that's the difference between a toy and a tool. If we look at that in another way, the cost per unit, it's the same numbers, but the cost per unit at the beginning in this area, it's prohibitive to use this tool. So as soon as possible, we must reach this and these phases. So each time you get a new equipment, you should think, how long will it be to reach this area? If you do that, you will be successful. So the successful investment process is to be targeted, to have with a staff training, not only on science, but on recommendation as well. Because if you have a new equipment, you should have people able to recommend this kind of services. And marketing plan. When it comes to dental, just to take this example, to have an X-ray for dental is a very good investment in first opinion vet practices. If, only if, your staff is able to do that. That's it. My take-home message is maximizing the sustainable value. It was our topic. Value is profitability. Sustainable is growth potential, location, team, premises, and equipment. And improving profitability, first of all, increasing revenues, thanks to recommendation by staff members and marketing tools, pricing policy, plus improving productivity, thanks to staff, equipment. Thank you very much